This is the Journey Podcast. We highlight the journeys of our guests, where they've been, where they are now, and where they are going. Let's join them on their journey. Well, welcome to the Journey Podcast. Today we have Donald Wochna, who is a fantastic guest because of his unique specialty. Through his work as an investigative attorney in computer and cell phone forensics and data law investigation. Donald helps corporations in circumstances where they are hit with theft of intellectual property, corporate espionage, and data breaches or loss of any kind. Donald specializes in searching for the real facts in the data and demystifying the what happened when data is lost for any reason. His knowledge of the law and data brings a unique perspective to the conversation. Donald has been practicing law for the last 39 years and is a former partner at an international law firm based in Cleveland, Ohio. He's also a Navy veteran, and he's been a certified computer and mobile device forensic examiner for almost 2 decades and is the managing partner at EData Law. And Donald, thanks for being here today. Is it okay if I call you Don for today?
Don is perfect, Nate. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here today. What an incredible career and some interesting things to check out here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and EData Law.
Sure. Grew up in Cleveland, by the way, for all of the people out there listening. And for those who are local, went to St. Ignatius High School. Yay, St. Ignatius.
Great.
Yay, Wildcats. My dad was a police officer in Cleveland and ended up leaving the city when I joined the Navy. I had 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. Ended up spending 6 years in the Navy. Got out of the Navy, did an undergraduate degree at Cal State Long Beach in California, then University of Chicago's law school, and then back to Cleveland. So I was kind of moved my way back east over a period of time. I've been practicing law 39 years. I find that hard to believe. I feel like I've just kind of started. And out of that practice, about 20 years ago, through a series of events, I got a chance to leave the partnership at a very large law firm and form a forensic company, a computer forensic company, that I ended up selling to my business partners after a few years, got myself certified as a forensic examiner, both for cell phones and mobile devices, and fit that niche that exists between the law and attorneys that understand the law really, really well, and they're really smart about the law, and the technology, where we got some really good IT guys that understand a lot of technology, but they don't speak to one another very well. IT guys don't know the law and they don't know the nuances, and certainly attorneys, unfortunately, I have been a little disappointed in this, but attorneys really do not understand technology, and they don't seem to want to in some instances. So that's how I came about having a career that's kind of got law on one side and IT on the other. And when I get engaged to help people, I bring both of those skill sets, both of those knowledge domains to bear. A lot of times that helps me see things that are important that other people didn't perhaps appreciate, and suggest legal strategies sometimes that IT guys don't even think of.
Yeah, this is a fascinating conversation that we already had about that. And I really think it is important to kind of understand, you're doing all this kind of the Wild West of technology, and we don't know what we're getting into on a legal standpoint. And that's why I really say to demystify that. So EData Law, how did you come to even this concept? How did you start that? How did that come about?
Sure. After I was practicing a fair amount of time doing the forensic work, and the forensic work has as its focus confrontation. It is an attribution profession, meaning I am usually engaged to determine who's the bad guy, and in an atmosphere where we anticipate we're going to sue him civilly or we're going to refer it criminally, it's FBI or whatever. So it is a confrontational environment with the expectation that there's going to be confrontation. Over the years, though, I've had lots of clients come to me that said, I want to know what's going on. I might even want to know who's doing this, but I do not want to go down that rabbit hole of litigation and confrontation. I just want to live my life. I want this to go away. And usually confrontation was because people had stolen something like intellectual property, former employee or whatever had ripped off a company. But a whole bunch of other people were being harassed or bullied or were having problems in social media. So EData Law Group is a company that underneath it has my law firm. We do the confrontation stuff. We do the crush the enemy. That's the iron fist, if you will. And then another group called Digital Safety Group. And Digital Safety Group, they do the nice stuff. They help people to configure their devices and their social profiles to live in a digital world without being bullied, harassed, or without some of the harms that we know are coming out of social media, and to put them on a kind of a safe island without confrontation. The idea there is we're not going to go out and, even if we find the bad guy, we're not going to go out and try to sue him or tackle him or nonsense like that. So that kind of serves both people. The people that are people in businesses that want to confront and want to do something about it. That's the iron fist, and the velvet glove is the softer approach that says just get us to a safe place where we can live our lives.
That's kind of have a full service there of both things there. I really like that, and like what you're doing there with EData Law, but also Digital Safety Group. Some good services provided there. You mentioned earlier your career was started in the military. You did 3 tours. Thank you for your service there. I'm fascinated. You worked on a nuclear submarine, I understand, and
nuclear surface ship.
Surface ship. Okay.
Surface ship. USS. The USS Long Beach, CGN-9. It was one of the first guided missile nuclear powered cruisers in the United States.
Okay. So you were working as a nuclear. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure.
Because I'm just gonna muffle it all up. So you.
When I was in the military, I went to school to learn how to run nuclear reactors, and so I had a job in the nuclear side of the Navy. And when I entered, this is how I got interested in law, by the way. When I entered the Navy, there was a program that said, if you will enlist for 6 years on day one, then here's what we'll do for you. At the end of 4 years, we'll give you a bonus. And the bonus will be calculated by the fact you'll have 2 years left, and we'll multiply that by your salary at that time. So it's like getting 2 years of salary. That's kind of neat. So I signed up for that. Well, after I was in about 3 years, the Navy got rid of the program. They said, well, can't afford it anymore. So when you get to 4 years, Don and others, we're just not going to pay you your bonus, but you got to stay. And I am one of 12 named people that sued the military, and all the services had this program, and we ended up suing them all in a case that went to the United States Supreme Court. And we won in the district court level, lost at the Ninth Circuit Appellate Court in California, and won in the U.S. Supreme Court on a 5-4 decision.
Wow.
And basically, we were told by the courts that this was a contract. And because it was a contract, the Navy and others, Coast Guard, everybody, you had to honor the contract and pay the money. But if this had been an exercise of war power, if they said, hey, we can't afford this because we're at war, not because of fiscal reasons, then we probably would have lost, because heck, they can change the uniform. Heck, they can even tell you they're going to extend your enlistment period, whether you like it or not, because they need you. So there were reasons that worked in our benefit. It wasn't a guaranteed win, but it was fascinating to me to be in an organization in a war zone, taking somebody to the Supreme Court on a group of words and laws written in books, while being near countries in which, heck, people like me would have been shot because you don't like what's going on. When did it bump you off? So that caused me to be interested both in technology, nuclear stuff, which I still am, and law as a method by which to resolve disputes and exercise rights without resorting to violence. And I thought it was just fascinating to be in that position.
Yeah, and thanks for. I was really curious to see how you made that transition from working in nuclear to law, and then that's a fascinating story there. And just really neat that path that took you on. So you have Digital Safety Group and EData Law right now. And what's one thing you've had those for quite a while now? What's one thing that has happened that you really didn't expect to happen in those?
Uh, I truly did not expect when I started that the men and women with whom I practice law, I I expected them to be as excited and enamored with the technology and fall in love with it like I did. I expected they wanted to take it apart and look what was inside it and find out what was going on and why are these computers doing what they're doing, and to be like I was when I found out. My goodness, when I found out that delete didn't mean delete and all this junk was still on a computer, this was crazy. I couldn't believe this, and I got excited. And what I found out is I might be abnormal because
abnormal people are good people, Don.
I hear you, Mark. Most of the attorneys, the overwhelming majority of attorneys that I meet are excellent at the practice of law, but do not share nearly the interest in the technology. The attitude seems to be, I know the law, and if I need to know what you know, Don, I'll give you a call. So that's what I didn't anticipate.
That's very interesting there, and it seems to be a growing need in some of the things that we're seeing on the cybersecurity of somebody understanding the legal side of it, because the criminals are getting away with a lot of bad things because people don't understand what's happening, but more people are actually getting caught finally because more people are understanding what and how to track that down. So
I'll mention to you, Nate, the metaverse is going to be just a fascinating explosion of potential as we move into a digital existence, in a sense, where their combination of law and technology is almost going to be seamless. And then we'll see how the practice of law and practice of technology might need to come a lot closer together than what they are today.
Yeah, that's a fascinating conversation in and of itself. How do you define crime and criminal activity in the metaverse?
and who defines it? Does the platform owner define it? And that's what we're fighting with that right now. Platform owners deciding what you can say or not say, who gets kicked off and who doesn't get kicked off, and how alien that feels to people because they're thinking First Amendment rights. But the platform's a private place. You have no First Amendment rights in the platform. And First Amendment only applies to your relationship to the government, not your relationship to companies. And so we're kind of seeing a precursor of what some of the things are going to be like in the metaverse, I think.
I'm learning so much already today. So tell me, what do you think is the biggest challenge you're facing right now in regards of technology in the legal field and bringing those two together?
Well, it's going to sound like a terribly horrible segue, but metaverse. Right now, I'm looking at the courses and the certifications that I'm going to take in order to become certified in some aspect of metaverse security, either on the access side, access security, or identification access management is a big deal right now. So I'm looking at those courses and those certifications. And I do think one of the challenges that we've got at EData is to not stay at simply a computer and mobile device forensic examination, or even as a digital safety group, help you. I want to move forward and make sure I'm on the cutting edge of what they're doing in the metaverse. And so I'm looking at those companies that are willing to teach and certify so that I can learn it in such a way that I can then monetize that knowledge base, again, by helping attorneys and technology and other people live in the metaverse.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy new Wild West with the new Web3 upcoming here.
Yep.
So you have a lot of experience to draw from, and we get to interview people from different areas of their career. Some we interview are just getting started out. Some are kind of in the middle. And you have, what you say, some experience for us, which I really always appreciate that. Tell us what you think is the most important lesson you've learned in 39 years of practicing law.
Really, don't get over your skis. And that applies more than just to the practice of law. In humans, especially in this country, we're raised to try to please people. We try to please teachers. We take tests. We try to do well. We have a natural idea we want to please somebody. And so when a client or when somebody is in trouble or they ask for help and they turn to a professional of any type, there's a limit, not only to your knowledge set, but there's a limit to what professionally you can actually do. So like in my field, for example, I frequently run into people that are testifying about who did what on a computer, let's say. And some professionals will get on a stand and they seem to be comfortable saying, Bob, the defendant, did this. And yet, truly, maybe the evidence only shows that somebody at a particular time and date had the credentials to get on the computer and did something. So technically, moving beyond your skis means you begin to testify, or you begin trying hard to help your client by saying things, forming opinions, or pushing beyond what is really the truth. And so I try to work very hard, and this is a good lesson that I impart to everybody. You let your client know this is where opinion or fact stops. The rest is extrapolation. It's reasonable inferences. It's what we ought to be able to intelligently determined by circumstance, and making that gap clear. And one gets comfortable in that. And in fact, the practice of law really is arguing to juries or judges that the gap between fact and conclusion is reasonably closed by common sense or inferences, etc. So the approach is real good. I find the people that don't appreciate that and they try to jump and say, I can prove that gap doesn't exist, they get into trouble.
That's fascinating. That in itself could be a whole just a whole session right there. So, so tell me, what in your opinion has been the most important personality trait for you to be successful in your business?
Curiosity and perseverance. To be perfectly blunt about it, it's the fun part of what you do. The desire to be curious enough to figure out how does something work, whether it's an operating system. I mean, I still remember to this day, I thought Windows was the only operating system in the world. And then this thing comes up with Apple, and that was and then I found Linux. And then I found there was all kinds of distributions in Linux. And then I found you could download them all. And oh my goodness, just spend your whole life playing with Linux.
Yeah.
And so this kind of perseverance combined with curiosity, and then, at least for what I do and others, a good investigative mind, that mindset that says, how would somebody have done this, given this environment, given the ability of this operating system, given the ability of these tools like cell phones or devices, how did somebody hack through? How did somebody get into your account? I mean, my identity has been compromised by I believe it's been the state of Ohio as an example, because some yo-yo out there has filed for unemployment in my name. And I got this little thing last year, and I'm one of those people. I guess the state of Ohio paid a whole lot of money to a whole bunch of fraudulent ones. And one of the guys that got money apparently is somebody that used my name. Well, I was interested in how did that happen? In all fairness, the state seemed to be more interested in, okay, it wasn't you, thank you very much, goodbye. And I wanted to know, well, come on, let's figure this out. I'm willing to sign stuff, or let's go forward and do something. So in order to be successful, I think, to have that edge, to be different than everybody else in the world, perseverance, curiosity, and an investigative mind, I think puts you right on the cutting edge.
Good word right there. Yeah, be curious. Curiosity gets you a lot further. So if somebody wants to get into investigative data law, I don't know the exact industry you would call yourself. I think you're creating something here, and really, in my opinion, somebody wants to get into your line of work. What piece of advice would you give them?
Well, you'd be certified. You got to find a path into the knowledge domain. Put it that way. That's how it starts. So if you're interested, the question is identify the knowledge domain you want to acquire. And then a whole lot of it is doing a lot of stuff in a sense yourself. There's all kinds of courses one can take, for example, on forensics. You can get certified by lots of different organizations. But the real point is that whatever test you pass, whatever knowledge you read, you got to get it in your head and make it your own and then start using it. And so to start in this area, if you knew nothing and you don't have hardly any money at all, I'd say grab yourself a Linux distribution. Kali, K-A-L-I, is a great distribution built for forensics. Grab a Kali distribution, do some research on Google, learn how to make some images and start on the forensic stuff. And if you start to see yourself getting more and more excited and wanting to learn more and more, you're on the right path.
Yeah, we use we call it Kali around here. We use it all the time for lots of investigation and testing and security, and it's a great distribution.
Yeah, I mean, it's free.
Yeah,
who can beat that?
Yeah, so if you're looking to get into any type of security, investigative, penetration testing, definitely recommend Kali to check it out. Some great courses out there. Taken quite a few courses on it. Learned a ton through that. So, who would you say has been your most important mentor in all of this?
I would say a man by the name of Keatron Evans. That's Keatron, Keatron Evans. He writes for it, teaches for InfoSec. And Keatron is a friend of mine, or he has become a friend of mine. He's one of the people that I got certified through. He's done some other great stuff with InfoSec and continues to do so. He is a delight to watch on penetration testing, because as he teaches a few things, if people don't understand, he says, wait a minute, let me show you. And he'll just crack into stuff. No, legitimately, he cracks into targets he's allowed to. He tells some great stories. He's intelligent. He's able to make difficult concepts understandable. And I just find him to be a delight to be around. He's a good guy.
Fantastic. So tell me, what's one lesson that your job has taught you that everyone should learn at some point in their life?
Real easy. Don't interrupt ever. Listen and then think, meaning this. When people are talking to you, especially if they're in trouble or they're looking for help, they have some things in their mind that they want to get out. And if you interrupt them, or you try to come to some kind of conclusion and tell them something before they have exhausted, before they've given you that data dump, they're not listening properly, and neither are you. If you listen till somebody is done, if you listen, even if they're jumping around and they're telling you 5 or 6 things, and in your mind, you're just categorizing them, so that at the end of their explanation, you can say, I think I understand this person, where they're oriented in the ecosystem that I understand. I have an idea of what they know and what they don't know. Now I can respond to them and do so in a way that almost instantly connects with them, tells them I understand what you are, gives you some credibility, and then gently leads them, sometimes bluntly leads them, to where most likely you're going to go. The concept of listening without coming to a conclusion early, I have found to be something that as I've gotten older, I'm better at. And because I'm better at it, my interactions with clients have gotten a lot better.
It's good. Very good. So tell us one thing about your job that almost no one else agrees with you about. And there might be multiple things on this one.
Well, I'm a little nuts, so maybe a lot of these people don't agree. How about this? Nobody agrees I know what I'm doing. There you go.
If you're on the right path, if nobody agrees with you, is what you're saying.
No, actually, I'm pretty fortunate. I've had some nice judges say some nice things, and I've had clients say some very good things. But what I've said before, I will circle back to. Hardly any of the attorneys in large groups agree that they need to know a lot of more technology. That's just as a group, absolutely rejected. I've been in seminars. I have been in seminars where I've said things and other attorneys have stood up and characterized me as trying to scare people, because that's not the way it works. Attorneys don't need this knowledge. We can get it by hiring experts like Don or whatever. And that seems to be the model. I still don't think that's the best model, but I'm not going to be critical about it. Attorneys are successful in that model. We'll see if that continues. I don't think attorneys are as impactful, put that way, as they could be if they knew a little bit more technology and were more excited about it. That's all.
It's interesting that a lot of attorneys, and you've mentioned that already, and
Yeah.
I just think it's fascinating.
It's probably my way of validating why I'm doing this.
It's just a whole world that I'm so familiar with, and it just seems like you would want to understand that a little bit more, especially with the way things are changing in the world. So tell me, what would you say is the most underrated tool, and maybe it's Kali Linux, that you must have to do your job, Don?
Well, actually, there are two underrated tools that I think are underrated generally, and they're free or relatively free. And one of them is Excel. I find Excel, the more you know about Excel, the more I'm blown away how much it does. I mean, and again, it's relatively free. There's a lot of knowledge in Excel, and for investigative purposes and everything else, Excel does some neat stuff. I use Excel a lot of times in order to the easy stuff. Use it for chronologically putting everything together, etc. Also use some data analytic tools. Pajak is a tool that's free. Pajik. Pajak is a social network analysis tool that allows you to identify clusters and clicks that are closely related or farther related from a target. Gives you an idea of who might also be a member of the gang based on the frequency and the quality of interactions between them on social media or on email systems. And it allows you to do that statistically. That's a tool hardly anybody uses because they jump right into the forensics, and I've kind of migrated more into more of the data analytic tools. And another data analytic tool that's absolutely essential to get started with are the SQLite viewers and the SQLite analysis. So much stuff on these phones and everything is all inside SQLite databases, and everybody should understand briefly that a database is both transactional, meaning that's what's in all of the rows. John bought this thing at this product on this date at this time. And if you look at each row, you're looking at transaction after transaction after transaction. But analytics dives down from the columns in a sense and tells you, here are the number of transactions, the number of products, the dates on which the products were bought, et cetera. And it's from that you extract business intelligence about when are things selling, when are they not selling. And so as an example of that, using good data to put into good data analytics, you identify who within a large organization may be appearing at work early, staying late, and never taking vacations. Because that behavior, while it may be the behavior of your excellent people, just happens to also be the behavior of people who may be doing something that they're frightened of being caught. So they never want the supervisor there before or after, and they sure the heck don't want anybody accessing their computer or something when they're gone. So it's an example. The tools, the analytic tools, the data analytic tools are somewhat underused right now because a lot of forensics stops when the data is gotten. But I think moving into the analysis of the data really starts to empower and take your forensic knowledge set and put it on steroids as you begin to use the data to lead you to transactions, communications, and financial indications of interest.
Don, you're always a wealth of knowledge. Yeah, and I will agree. I love Excel, and it was actually the entry point to my professional career, but that's another story for another day.
So we got to do one on you then. We got to get you telling your story. But Excel is pretty neat.
Pretty neat.
Absolutely.
So what occupation, other than what you've doing law, would you like to try some point in your life?
Well, right now I'm a little old for it, but my dad was a police officer. And to be honest with you, when I was in the military for a while, after I sued them, they put me on in effect like an armed forces police. I think they were hoping that maybe I get myself thrown off a ship or something like that. But I always found law enforcement. I have a degree in criminal justice, and I always thought law enforcement was both exciting, very, very challenging. And I always thought that the integration of technology with law enforcement could do all kinds of stuff, but for some of our constitutional issues. And so I was always looking to see how can we have our cake and eat it too. And as a mini example, if anybody out there starts to read about 5G, the evolution of the 5G system includes within it one of the technical subcommittees under the 5G standard creation organizations, the international standard organizations, the ISOs. The technical subcommittee on lawful intercept is the subcommittee that's building the standards by which the 5G system will permit law enforcement agencies to hook right into real-time, hook into the fire hose, if you will, of data in order to provide law enforcement real-time information about things of interest that are going on 5G. And in our country, they'd need a search warrant, but that's not true everywhere in the world for 5G. So 5G is a system that includes a lawful intercept component that plugs law enforcement into 5G. And that, to me, represents an ecosystem of law enforcement and technology that's going to be very interesting to watch to see if people's rights can be protected, even in countries perhaps where those rights aren't as strong as they are here.
That's fascinating. And I really think, Don, that I'm going to go into the metaverse in a couple of years and I'm going to meet Don the cop.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. You can try it out in there. So
that's a deal.
All right, Don, I really appreciate you being on the Journey podcast today. I got a couple of rapid fire questions here at the end for you. What are 3 books you would recommend to the audience?
I got 2 that come to mind. And one is everybody should read the Bible, period. I say that without any kind of hesitation. You should do that. Self-confession, I've only been doing it seriously for about 4 years to 5 years, and it has made me much less irritated and cynical about what's going on in the world.
It's interesting how it does that.
Oh, yeah. It's a great book to read.
It's very interesting.
Get a better perspective, and you go, things are going the way they pretty much expect to be going. If you keep acting this way, this is what's going to happen. And then if you really like reading some good thing, in fact, here you go. This book here, and Zero Day, Countdown to 0 Day. This is about the Stuxnets. This is about 6 different pieces of malware, if you will, attack vectors that were combined by the United States, perhaps with the help we suspect of Israel and Germany, etc., in order to attack the centrifuges that were being used by Iran to enrich uranium. And those centrifuges were not connected to the internet. The controllers that control the centrifuges were not connected to normal computers. They're special little controllers. And it's a fascinating book to read about how it is that the United States built something that was the first time in history where malware entered something, not to steal data, but to actually cause physical destruction. And they did. They destroyed a bunch of centrifuges and some other stuff along the way. So that's an excellent book to read, especially today with all the craziness going on between nation states attacking one another in the digital side. It's interesting to read how perhaps that genie got out of the bottle in a way in which we were intimately involved.
Fascinating story of what happened there. Okay, I'm somebody who's starting a business today, Don. What is one word of wisdom you would give me?
Need, N-E-E-D. You got to work backwards. Don't believe your idea is any good just because you've got it. If you have a flash of insight, God love you. But working backwards. In order for a business to be successful, other people got to need what the heck you're doing. And that's kind of heartbreaking for sometimes that I come across people who are in love with what they do, but nobody perceives the need. That could be a communication issue. And that would, by the way, I'm very familiar with that. When I first started doing forensics, attorneys literally had no idea what I was talking about. The words electronically stored information or computer forensics hadn't even been used yet. And when I told attorneys there was going to be a day when I would be able to get into the computers of their clients, even though they didn't want that to happen, we'd get court orders or something along those lines. I had a bunch of my partners tell me I was out of my mind. That would never happen. One guy even, over my dead body, would I let you do that? So now we don't even blink about the fact that you get sued, you got to bring up some information, the courts are regulating discovery, et cetera. So if you've got an idea and you're going into business and you're excited about it, please, please, please take a little bit of time and see if somebody who doesn't know you helps you identify, is there a need for what you're doing? At least as the first step, you'll save yourself a lot of heartache.
That's good advice there. Thanks, Don. Okay. I've asked you a lot of questions today here on the journey. What's one question you wish I would have asked you that I didn't ask?
How do I bill? Here's why. You're going
to wait on your invoice for this session. No.
no. This is another thing that I do that attorneys think I've lost my mind about. One of the delights of my life, of 39 years of practicing law, for about the first 20 of those years, I billed in the 10th of an hour every 6 minutes. So my bills, like all attorney bills, you read 0.15 hours speaking to so-and-so. I mean, when I first began practicing law, things were so bad. Attorneys hated doing bills so much that the firm wouldn't give you your paycheck until all of your bills or all your time were submitted into the big computer so the bills could go out. And if you didn't do that enough, one time you got a warning. And if you didn't do that, still some more, the managing partner of the firm gave you your second warning. You never got a third. So billing in a 10th of an hour, I really thought was the worst part of the profession. When I left the partnership, I said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a bet. And the bet is I've been practicing law 20 years. I am learning enough about forensics that I can see some things and I know how long it takes me to do stuff. I'm going to break up every engagement into phases, and I do fixed fees ahead of time about how much it's going to cost for each phase. And I picked up from business, how about each phase has a deliverable? How about we know when a phase starts and when does it stop? How about we know what we're supposed to do during that phase? Little project management there. And how about we run the case like you would run a project in phases and get to a conclusion? And it has revolutionized my practice. It's revolutionized my life. It's made easier discussions with clients. They know exactly what the whole thing's going to cost. They know it's broken up into 6 pieces. They know if we don't get to piece 2, you don't pay anymore, but we go through 1 and 2 and 3. I recommend it to everybody. And I'm a little aggressive when I say that if you're practicing law 20 years or 15 years or 30 years or 39 like mine, and you can't tell me what it's going to cost to do something, I'm going to raise an eyebrow about that, because while I cannot tell you how much profit I'll make, because some things may take me longer, I can absolutely give a person a number and say, this is what I will charge you and no more than this, because I'll know I'll make something on it.
That's good. And it probably saves you just time on having the bill.
Oh, just no IOLTA account, no trust funds accounts. People pay at the beginning of a phase. Move on. Yeah. It is sweet.
Automate that billing process. I could talk all day long about that. Let's try to make it as simple as possible. We get that down to the point of, we have very few questions we have to do at the end of the day because it all is pretty much built exactly the same way.
Yep.
So there's very few special circumstances. Don, I really appreciate you joining me on the Journey podcast today. Tell our listeners where they can find you and start a conversation with you at EData Law.
Sure. You can do, there are 2 places. If you're online, you want to read a little bit. If you want to read a little bit about, quote, the Iron Fist, go to WochnalawFirm.com, which is WOCHNA. LAWFIRM, WochnalawFirm.com. If you want to read about the Velvet Glove, Digital Safety Group, all one word.com, digitalsafetygroup.com. I got a bunch of videos up there with my partner, Hayden Pritchard. We've done some nice things there. And I talk to people around the globe. You can always give me a call. I'm at 330-815-2891. I've had that number for a long, long time. It's my cell phone. I answer it. I don't care. A lot of times I talk to people, give them some advice. Sometimes it ends up in business. Lots of times it doesn't. It doesn't bother me.
Great. Don, I really appreciate your time. You've got a lot of experience, just a lot of things here. And I have a feeling we're going to be seeing you here on some of my other channels and just our discussions. It's really been exciting. And just a great time to share about your journey today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. And maybe the next time, let me interview you.
Yeah, sure.
Better yet, let me cross-examine you.
I don't do so well. I'm gonna need some training for courts.
Well, Nate, this has been a delight. We really appreciate it, partner.
Thank you.
Thank you.